The Liberation of Frederick. In the shadowy recesses of a forsaken city, there lived a man named Frederick Hawthorne. Frederick was a tormented soul, perpetually ensnared in a recurring nightmare that visited him each night without mercy. He dwelled in a dimly lit apartment where every corner whispered secrets of a desolate past. A grim and disheveled figure, he bore the weight of his nightmare like an ancient curse, his pallid countenance etched with lines of unrelenting despair. The nightmare, as he came to call it, began like clockwork every night. As he lay in his creaking bed, teetering on the precipice between wakefulness and slumber, the world around him transformed into a haunting realm of darkness. The moonlight filtered through his tattered curtains, casting eerie, elongated shadows across the room. Frederick found himself standing in an abandoned carnival, the once jubilant carousel creaking ominously in the wind. The night air was heavy with foreboding, and the only sound was the melancholic wailing of the wind. And then, from the depths of the night, the nightmare emerged. The creature was a grotesque abomination of monstrous proportions. Its sinewy limbs were twisted and gnarled, ending in wicked talons that gleamed malevolently. A cloak of midnight shrouded its form, and its eyes were voids of eternal darkness. It had no mouth to speak of, but its screeches could curdle the blood of even the bravest soul. The nightmare was relentless in its pursuit. Frederick ran through the desolate carnival, his ragged breaths echoing in his ears. His heart pounded like a funeral drum, and the chilling realization that he could never escape filled him with an overwhelming dread. The creature's proximity was like an icy breath on the nape of his neck, and yet it never quite caught him. Each night, Frederick's torment continued, his sanity eroding with each passing dream. He had become a recluse in the waking world, no longer able to distinguish reality from the horrors that plagued his sleep. The weight of the nightmare bore down upon him, threatening to consume his very soul. In the writings of Edgar Allan Poe, Frederick found solace. He delved into the works of the macabre poet, immersing himself in tales of darkness, despair, and the human psyche. Poe's words became a lifeline, a means to understand the darkness that had overtaken his life. He read The Telltale Heart with a strange sense of kinship, for he too was haunted by something he couldn't escape. The apartment walls, lined with shelves filled with Poe's books, echoed with the ghostly cadence of his words. Frederick had become a recluse in a reclusive world, the isolation of his apartment mirroring the isolation of his soul. He had grown thin and haggard, his eyes hollow from sleepless nights, and his mind consumed by fear. One fateful evening, as the moon hung low in the sky and Frederick prepared to face the nightmare once more, a knock on his door shattered the oppressive silence. He hesitated, not having had a visitor in years. The knock came again, more insistent this time, and he reluctantly shuffled to the door. As he opened it, his blood ran cold. There, in the dimly lit corridor, stood a man who bore a striking resemblance to James Baldwin, an author Frederick had read in college. The stranger's eyes were warm and compassionate, a stark contrast to the voids that haunted Frederick's nightmares. "Frederick," the man said, his voice a soothing balm to Frederick's tortured soul. "I've been watching you, and I understand your torment. You've been trapped in this nightmare for far too long, but I have the key to your salvation." Frederick, his heart pounding with a mixture of hope and suspicion, stepped aside to let the stranger in. Baldwin, as Frederick had come to think of him, spoke of a way to confront the nightmare, to face it with the strength of a heart unburdened by fear. He offered wisdom, solace, and the promise of a path to liberation. With Baldwin's guidance, Frederick's dread gave way to courage. That night, as he entered the carnival once more, he no longer ran from the nightmare. Instead, he turned to face it, his heart ablaze with newfound strength. The creature screeched, its form writhing in frustration, but it could no longer ensnare him. Frederick's courage was a beacon of light in the darkness, and as the nightmare recoiled, it crumbled into nothingness. The carnival dissolved, leaving Frederick standing alone in a sea of ethereal mist. He was free. As dawn broke, Frederick awakened in his apartment, the first rays of sunlight streaming through his window. The weight of the nightmare had lifted, and he felt a sense of liberation he had not known for years. The apartment, once a tomb of despair, now seemed bathed in hope and possibility. In the end, Frederick Hawthorne had not just escaped the nightmare, he had transcended it. With the guidance of a compassionate stranger who bore the spirit of James Baldwin, he had found the strength to face his torment head-on and emerge victorious. The nightmare was no more, but the memory of its terror would forever be etched in his mind. And as the years passed, Frederick became a beacon of inspiration to others who faced their own demons. His story, a testament to the indomitable human spirit, served as a reminder that even in the darkest of nights, one could find the light of salvation. With this unexpected twist, the title of the story, now renamed The Liberation of Frederick Hawthorne, becomes a testament to the triumph of the human spirit over the most harrowing of nightmares. The end. Thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure to share this time with you. Like, subscribe, and comment to help us continue to bring you more short stories like this one.